I'm really looking forward to today's video because this is a turntable that has been requested by you guys, has been one that I've had my eye on. So I recently purchased this on Amazon. This is the Victrola USB turntable. It says it's semi-automatic. I'm not 100% sure if that's truly the case, and I'll explain what I mean in a minute. On the box, we got 2-speed belt-driven turntable, record from vinyl to MP3, software included. Gee, I wonder what that is. High quality diamond stylus. It's an Audio-Technica 3600L, I can already tell you right now. And RCA output jack. And that's about it. So let's see what's in the box. There probably won't be a whole lot that needs to be put together with this. Upside down as per the usual. I have this really strange skill of opening every single turntable upside down. Got the manual, USB cable is in the bag, the software on the back. I do like how they've made it kind of look like a record. That's pretty cool. And I believe that's everything in the box. Let's go ahead and remove our foam blocks. They're on there pretty tight. This one on the left held the power adapter up there, but it's since fallen out. It's going to be a DC power adapter. And there we go. There is the main unit itself. The dust cover is wrapped separately and is just loosely on there right now. Got some what looks like anti-static plastic wrap loosely over the turntable itself. Okay, and there it is. It looks beautiful. A very shiny, sort of piano black finish. This is a hollow, seems to be a fairly lightweight plastic plinth. Got the Victrola branding right there. Down along the front, we've got a cueing switch, the reject or return switch. This is what's got me confused about this being only semi-automatic, because it has a start and stop, which would indicate that it's fully automatic. But the box says semi-automatic, and it's rare that a company would under-proclaim the features of its turntables. It's usually the other way around. We also have a speed selector switch. It is a 2-speed stereo turntable, so 33 and 45, as well as the power switch. Like I often do, let's go ahead and start with the Platter and see what we got. Something I like to check out early on in the process is the weight of the unit. Yeah, it's not that bad. It's a little heavier than I thought it would be, actually, considering how light and hollow this base feels. Let's go ahead and look at this. We got a rubber platter mat. It feels like it's weighted pretty nicely. I like it. And surprised to see a rubber platter mat instead of the typical felt. We've got recesses for different sizes of records so that they're easier to remove. Plastic platter. Now, like we saw recently on that Gemini unit, not a complete deal breaker. A plastic platter can be done well. Let's see how this one is done. Of course, the very typical cheap 45 adapter. I'm going to go ahead and replace it with this one. I just think this looks a lot better. What do you guys think? I've been hinting at this for a while. Getting to a big announcement coming soon. Hopefully you guys will be as excited about it as we are. One more piece of tape up here that needs to be removed. All right, so it's kind of a little spongy around the edges, pretty common, especially with the plastic ones. Belt driven, the motor will be over here. Okay, interesting. I was expecting it over here, but it's actually over here. Let's go ahead and remove the belt from that. Interesting, there's no finger lifts. All they have is the belt access holes, and it is held in place with a C-clip. So I'm going to, or an E-clip. I don't know if it's E-clip or C-clip. Anyway, I'm going to remove that clip, and we'll see what's underneath. Looks like there's some residual grease on the platter. And pop this guy off. If I'm not filming this, I usually cover it with one hand so it doesn't go flying, which it did. It always does that. Now, if I can just remember to put it back on before I put this thing back together. All right, so we're going to lift this guy off. And just like I was saying before, this is indeed a plastic platter. This appears to be a piece of ABS. Pretty cheap looking in my opinion, but it'll get the trick done. We've got a sub platter there. That's where the belt should be attached to even at this moment. However, it was a little bit loose and it just fell down under there. And like I say, the belt is tensioned correctly, in my opinion, it should contract onto that subplatter, which it did not. That isn't to say that it won't work or that there's not necessarily a problem. We've got like what looks like strobe markings on the side. I'm thinking those are decorative, although it does look like they're interspersed in different positions to indicate two speeds, but I'm not really sure if that's a real strobe marking or not. I guess we'll find out. Under the hood, you know, it is a plastic plinth, so everything here is molded, but the familiar gears and mechanisms to facilitate either the semi-automatic or the automatic control. I will be curious to find out if this is indeed semi-automatic or if it truly is fully automatic. And this does have the gear, positioning gear on the bottom here with a brass sleeve. That's a good sign. That's a quality. If you're gonna do like a plastic platter, having at least the contact positions be upgraded to metal is good. So I'm glad to see that. Okay, doable, definitely doable. Let's look at the tone arm assembly and the cartridge and stylus. This is very interesting. Look back here. There is a red LED. Maybe this does have a strobe capability. I hope it's not decorative. I can't stand decorative things. I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. Now, vintage, kind of retro themed stuff is one thing, but fake tweeters and fake strobes, I don't like that. I don't think I've ever seen a fake strobe before. I've seen fake strobe markings, but hopefully this is a real one. We'll see in a minute. Okay, let's start with the gimbal. Pretty loose, just really adjustable. Now the counterbalance looks like it's fixed. Yeah, that gimbal's pretty loose. We do have a metal tone arm, which you'd be surprised isn't always the case. And you know what? It's not always a bad thing if it doesn't. We saw a plastic tone arm on that Gemini. Still worked just great. Let's look at the head shell. Speaking of decorative, I feel like a decorative item is coming up soon. It's sort of half and half. It does not have a removable head shell assembly that is fixed onto there. But this is, albeit a cheap plastic one, this is an actual head shell assembly. We've got an Audio-Technica 3600L cartridge, little finger lift there. That is a good entry-level cartridge. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Let's look at the back panel. I have to say the fit and finish on this does feel a little bit cheap. I mean, I don't know what it is. This is such a shiny, lightweight feeling plastic. But here on the back panel, we do have an RCA output. We've got the 12-volt power supply and then the USB connection. The USB would be for digitizing your records to MP3 using the Audacity software. Audacity, although it is free, you can get it online anywhere. You don't need to wait for a disc. It is a powerful software. You can do a lot of audio restoration things with it. It is a good software. Not the most user-friendly thing, but once you get the hang of it, it's not half bad at all. For the bottom, it's just a plastic with pivoting, decorative yet functional, rubber padded plastic feet. And on the back, we have a little bit more substantial rubberized foot. And we do have speed adjustments for both 45 and 33. Okay, I've got the dust cover installed. It does look handsome. I do like the chrome ring going around the edge of the platter. I think it looks pretty handsome, actually. Does not look bad. It's just when you get your hands on it and you start realizing that it's a bit cheap feeling. Let's go ahead and check the speed accuracy. I'm going to go ahead and put my strobe disc on here, not knowing if it's going to need one because it may in fact have that built-in strobe, which will really impress me. I'm going to go ahead and release this clip. I'm going to push the cueing switch. Wow, that goes up high. It's unnecessarily high. Okay, so love a cueing switch. That one goes up pretty high. If we rotate the tone arm, it should spin up the record player. And I didn't power it up. That would probably help. So hitting the power button, giving it a second, and still nothing is happening. Is this literally a start and stop switch for the platter? It is. Okay. Well, there you go. It's a semi-auto. Wait, what? Okay, so this is actually fairly common. When you flip on a semi-automatic or an automatic turntable for the first time, it's hard to tell what position in its process that it's currently sitting in due to shipping. So it's not uncommon for it to send itself home when you first turn it on. But this is indeed simply a motor start and stop switch, which is only active when the tone arm is moved over the record surface. And then if I press that, instead of bringing the tone arm home, it's just going to literally stop the motor. So this is indeed a semi-automatic turntable. Usually if you see start and stop switch, it's fully automatic, but not in the case of this Victrola. They decided they were going to do things differently. Looking right on this band here, we can see, a little difficult to see on the shot here, that the lines are moving a little bit to the left, which would indicate it is a hair fast, albeit a fairly minute amount. Going up to 45 right here, and also a little bit fast, kind of at that speed right there, bordering on the edge of an audible pitch difference. So not an ideal situation, but you could get underneath the unit and adjust those speeds if you wanted to. I've got to say that this plastic is already a major fingerprint magnet, as you can see on the left there. Just, this is, good grief, my hands were just washed, I swear. Okay, so, and the plastic, doesn't plastic just kind of look cheap? It just looks like a cheap grade of plastic. Like one of the cheapest they could get their hands on. Let's go ahead and spin this up here. Even if I flip off the studio lights, you can see that that light is just not moving. It just seems too still to be accurate. And if I change speeds, there's no visual change. So yeah, kind of disappointed. That would have been a cool little feature. Although if you don't have like a very handy pitch control, there's not much you can do about it short of getting underneath there and making an adjustment. So I think this is going to be in the category of perceived value. People that don't know so much are going to say, oh yeah, I've seen higher end turntables. They have like a light over there or whatever. That must mean it's a better one. So don't like that. Not impressed with that. All right, tracking force test. Let's see what it comes up at. 2.5. I hope that's not really the case. I'm pushing down the lift shelf off camera, making sure that it's putting its full weight on the scale. 2.5 grams. Still have to admit, it looks pretty dang good. This blue record on there, very nice. By the way, this is one of the Vinyl Moon releases, sort of a mixtape of indie music. Very, very cool. To begin with, let's just connect it to this speaker, which I've already done. It is connected to the speaker. Give it a basic functionality test, and then we'll do a direct feed here in a minute. Okay, so power is on. The start is on. And again, that only works once the tone arm is rotated over the record surface. So I'm going to cue the record by pressing the cueing switch, rotating it over, and then pressing the cueing switch again. Okay. Looks good. I mean, it looks good. It sounds good, I have to say. I mean, I'm just listening on a single mono speaker right now. This may not be the highest end unit ever. In fact, I guarantee you it is not the highest end unit ever. However, it may be functional. It's going to come down to that price point. We're going to talk about price here in a minute. So yeah, basically it will play all the way through, and then once it hits the run out groove, it will automatically return and come home. So you can fall asleep. I don't think I've ever fallen asleep to a record, but that's the use case you always hear. Fall asleep to your records without it spinning all night and carving up your needle and carving up your record. This one brings it home for you when the record's done and stops spinning the record. Okay, this is cheaper than the LP60X USB model, which would be the closest comparative model. So yes, it is cheaper price-wise, but unfortunately it is cheaper quality-wise too, fairly significantly so. We got the plastic platter, a somewhat janky tone arm assembly, just a cheap build quality. But the most important part, the sound is good, the functionality is good, You can make adjustments. It is a semi-automatic turntable, so it's not a half bad beginner turntable for somebody, or for somebody that's stepping up from a suitcase player, from an all-in-one player. Pretty dang good, albeit with the cheap build quality and a couple caveats here and there. I would recommend this. So I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description below.